cover this more deeply in along the same lines of the same content that has appeared in other of my videos that I still need to get to finishing. One of them being the Las Vegas event of 2017 of the Las Vegas harvest, and then another one being just an overall overarching theme that I will show you visual graphics of here. But so this is again the significance of the 101. I've noticed this for a long while, for the several years that I had been living in California, and there's also the Highway 88 but yeah, so the 101 is highly significant. It represents the mysteries of death and rebirth itself. It is literally, it's the twin pillars and the gateway where the journey, the mystery of death ends, but also yet begins as the journey of the initiation into consciousness through the twin pillars of the left and right hemisphere, through the pineal gland, the gateway, the all-seeing eye, through linked to the ancient Egyptian mysteries, what was Sirius, the link from the pineal gland to Sirius, which was considered where the kings go after death, the pathway, the journey of kings, the transmigration of the soul, the pathway of the kings to become gods and deities as the stars in the heavens, the link between consciousness of the earth to the consciousness of Sirius. So this was the ancient Egyptian mysteries of death and rebirth. And so this literally represents the essence of sacrifice, of typically inner self, metaphorical sacrifice to a new self, but also has been used for thousands of years as an external proxy sacrifice, physical sacrifice, many forms, in the forms of the scapegoat, of the Azazel goat, many different rituals throughout ancient Hebrew, and so very, very significant. And so this is the mystery of the 101, and this, I've got full presentations written, and will be books as well, that's going so much deeper into this significance here, again in this full presentation, so we won't cover hardly any of this here. But so again, this is why the initiation represents the 101. It's the beginning of the journey. This is why you take an initiatory course, is the 101 course. It's the beginner's course. You are the neophyte entering into the temple, into the Masonic temple, through the twin pillars and through the left and right hemispheres, anatomically and spiritually into the stars, astrotheologically, speaking from a sense of consciousness. And so this is literally the symbolic meaning, the symbolic synchromystic significance of Kobe, essentially wearing the royal Tyrian purple and gold of the purple royal kings, being ascended and sacrificing, self-sacrifice, and the mysteries of death and initiation into the afterlife. And as always, I had written about this years ago, fully explaining all of this in my full presentation, Phoenix Consciousness Rising from the Esoteric Ashes of Pyrification. Pyrification, a play on words of purification, because pure is, they're literally the same etymological word. They're the same meaning, the same etymological essence. But so the essence of this is literally the phoenix, the ancient Egyptian phoenix, the Bennu bird, was literally derived, rather than the ibis, was actually rather derived from the purple heron, which was literally the color colors of the sunset, of the evening, the time between the cross transition between worlds of day and night, where the sunset, the horizon, is the colors of amber, orange, and purple, the colors of royalty, the colors of transition or crossing over, the crossroads between life and death, day and night, between realms, which is literally why the phoenix is representative of the orange and the purple, or the orange and gold, the purple and gold, the colors of death and rebirth and resurrection. Literally, this is the essence, this is the ritual. It's known as crossing the abyss, which is also the name of my second channel, which you guys should go and subscribe to if you're not already subscribed. Crossing the abyss. So this is the essence of crossing the abyss from life into death, the crossing the threshold between the two realms, between the two worlds, is literally the symbolic, whether you want to consider this, something orchestrated or just divinely, miraculously, synchromistically organized, however you want to view this, as just random wild coincidence or personal apophenia, seeing obvious symbolic patterns in all of this that clearly tells a very meaningful story. But this is the mystery of synchromysticism, is it doesn't have to automatically have meaning for the sync itself to be meaningful. The language of synchronicity, the language of sync for short, as we call it, is far deeper than we can typically comprehend. But as we start to see these syncs and the patterns come together and the web begin to connect things, you begin to understand a higher level of language, because the energetics, the structure of energetics in physics and in the universe is literally the energetic pattern it's the self-organizing principle. This is the principle that organizes not just events but pathways of energy flow. And so this is the underlying energetic structure that we physically witness in life through the form of synchronicity. As far as events, chronological or simultaneous events occurring in the physical world. This is what we see it manifested as physically. But again, it's a form of synchromystic sigil magic, a form of... There's an interesting alternative perspective through synchromysticism where the act of creating such cartoons and scripts sort of acts as a form of sigil magic or sympathetic magic or proxy magic, in the form of mentally creating a concept, an egregore, a thought, a concept, and through the act of writing it with the hand, essentially bringing your thoughts into the physical world through the act of writing or through the hand, a sort of talismanic signature that, when combined with a large viewing audience or many conscious points of consciousness focusing on your talismanic signature that you have created, through that act of so many people using their two visual eyes and their third inner visual eye to focus and triangulate their point of awareness, their points of consciousness, that many points of awareness, paying into or attention to that talisman, actually narrows down, statistically it narrows the odds, such as if you were to notice this in random number generators, the act of consciousness can actually affect the outcome of the random number generators, actually makes the random numbers become more coherent. So it's that act of focus that actually makes the energy coherent, becomes more coherent, which dramatically reduces the astronomical odds of some type of random event occurring, and it actually makes it much more predictable, makes it much more probable, or possibly actually even manifesting in physical reality. First, manifesting it on the causal level or the mental level, and through the public energy organizes that probability and enhances the probability of it occurring, a form of sympathetic vibratory resonance.
You have to understand predictive programming. Alan Watts states things or ideas which would be otherwise seen as bizarre, vulgar, undesirable, or impossible are inserted into films in the realm of fantasy, where when the viewer watches these films, his or her mind is left open to suggestion, and thus the conditioning process begins through subverting the conscious mind and entering into the realm of subconscious through entertainment, or entertrainment, as I like to say. These same movies, which are designed to program the average person, can give the discerning viewer a better understanding of the workings and the plan of the world agenda, if one becomes conscious to the patterns, the numbers, the symbols, and the iconography being used through this media manipulation. You can catch on to it, you can start to see the clues, and you can follow the trail, and you can call out these things that are happening. You can call them out as they're taking place on December 19th during the waning last quarter phase of the moon, which is prominent in most lunar sects such as Judaism, Dionic witchcraft, as well as symbolic, ritualistic, or satanic ritualistic events involving significant aspects of the lunar phases, such as the first and last quarter moon phase, or the full moon and the black moon, or the new moon.
Unless he's one in a line of sacrifices during this lunar time. So of course, as we know how it's intriguing to delve into how it was an Illuminati sacrifice. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it's an interesting coincidence. And in fact, going beyond that, it's intriguing to delve into what Carl Jung called synchronicity, which is defined as the experience of two or more events which occur in a meaningful manner, but which are causally unrelated. So this was the idea, which is obviously being challenged by other philosophers, of meaningful coincidence, and it basically became the underpinning for Jung's concept of archetypes and the collective unconsciousness, which is the idea that there's this governing dynamic, this energy that underpins the whole of human experience and history. So not to get too deep into it in a 4-minute YouTube video, but he basically outlined the concept that these kind of synchronicities are not necessarily planned, there's no conspiracy behind it, but it's just an energy that emanates out of the human experience, out of the collective unconscious, that causes these meaningful parallels, these meaningful coincidences, such as a Family Guy episode about Robin Williams invoking the notion of suicide being broadcast at the same time as his actual suicide, to possibly happen, which of course is challenged by apophenia, which is this concept of humans seeing patterns or connections in everything in random or meaningless data, and then claiming that it is a meaningful coincidence or a meaningful synchronicity. And this kind of coincidence has happened with Family Guy before. Remember last year, after the Boston bombings, an episode emerged of Family Guy which had been broadcast just before the Boston Marathon attack, which showed people being killed at the Boston Marathon. So we've seen this kind of synchronicity with something as abstract as a Family Guy episode beforehand. So again, it's interesting that this episode was being broadcast minutes before the actual suicide of Robin Williams. And again, I'm not saying it's a conspiracy theory and that they had prior knowledge of his suicide and that it was an Illuminati assassination, blood sacrifice. No, the people who say that are silly lunatics. The point I'm making is it's interesting whether these kind of coincidences are meaningful coincidences, or kind of synchronicities that emerge from the collective unconscious, from some kind of underpinning energy which guides the universe.